And I'm pleased to say this week we're opening the show with an interview with former Crazy Gang member Lawrie Sanchez. Good evening, Lawrie.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you? You okay?
I'm very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Obviously, as I mentioned there, you're a member of the Crazy Gang along with guys like Dennis Wise and people like that, Vinnie Jones. What are your memories of those days at Wimbledon?
God, it's a long time ago now. I mean, you think it's 25 years ago this year, the anniversary of the cup final win, so it shows how long ago it is. I mean, obviously, I think we were I always say we were a unique group of people at the right club at the right time that made something very special happen that probably you won't see again in football. You know, if you think that we played in the top division of English football in 1995 when we got there, 96 when we got there, we averaged 6,500 that first season in the top division. I mean, I know teams like Wigan have come from the lower divisions up, but they were funded big time by their chairman, whereas we weren't. In fact, we were certainly the lowest wage bill in the first division that year we first came up, and we finished sixth in the division. The following year, we finished seventh and won the FA Cup, and you won't get stories like that again.
No, it's funny, you've gone from obviously playing in an era where football was very much described as a hard man's game. Certainly to myself, I've grown up with football in the 90s and then the 2000s. When you look at your managerial career with Northern Ireland, which I know Chris is going to talk with you about later on, and at Fulham, how different is football today to how it was when you were playing at Reading and at Wimbledon? Is tackling going completely out of the game?
Well, you sometimes get the feeling that sort of people like Platini would like to outlaw it, the game. I mean, obviously, the game's a lot quicker now. The players are probably better athletes than we were, and probably better at the top level. But I think, you know, I've managed Fulham and I've managed International. I've managed players who are Premier League players. And I look at them and I still think that we could have been able to compete with what we had in our day. We knew, I like to think we knew the game better. We thought more about the game. I mean, certainly at Wimbledon where I played, I mean, we knew our jobs, and sometimes when I see top players, you know, they still don't know their jobs. You see, you only got to watch Saturday Night Football and Alan Hampton talking about defenders and such like, and they make so many wrong decisions. You're thinking they're at the top of their game. And I think that's where we were probably better. We understood the game probably better in our day than perhaps some of the players today. But you know, they're technically better. They're quicker. They're faster. They're better athletes. Probably look after themselves better. I still think, you know, that Wimbledon team around now could probably still survive in the Premier League.
It's interesting. I remember watching Rory Delap on Sky Sports one Saturday morning. He was talking about his long throws, and somebody made the point that Vinnie Jones was using the same technique when you were playing with him at Wimbledden, and it was a big part of your success.
Yeah, I mean, we often joke that Vinny's best pass was his throw, you know, and it was every bit as long as Rory Delap. We were doing that, you know, he used to throw it smasher in the box, cause havoc, and we used to score loads of goals that way. You know, all the things that Stoke did, we had done before. You know, we were the originals, if you want, and you know, Stoke have sort of, I wouldn't say they're a new Wimbledon. I mean, I know one of the coaches there was at Wimbledon during our time in the top flight. But you know, direct and strong tackling and all those things that you say about Stoke, we certainly were. And you know, Stoke have done well in the Premier League. I mean, you know, much has been criticised about their style of play, but a team that was in the bottom places in the Championship have maintained themselves in the Premier League for 6-7 years without ever really being in any danger of getting relegated. So it just shows that you know, as I say, that type of football can get you to places. Fans get fed up with it, or seem to have got fed up with it in Stoke, and Tony Pulis has paid the price. It'd be interesting to see what happens now under the new manager there, how they do this year. I mean, whether they're as successful as they've been over the last 5 or 6 years.
It's interesting you mentioned Fashanu there. Is it true that you guys didn't really get on?
I don't think we spoke for the last 3 years of our time together. We spoke while other people. No, we didn't. No, I think it's well documented that we didn't get on. But that, people often say to me, it's about the dressing room. You need a good dressing room. You need everybody to be on side. And I'd certainly say that's, from my experience, that's not the case. Whereas we were on the field, we were all knew our jobs and all know what was expected. Off the field, some people were very close. I had very good friends in the dressing room. Other players, I just couldn't take no matter what. And but the minute we crossed the line in the same shirts, we did the job together because we all realised that being the sum of the parts made us better than we were as individuals. And it was only perhaps later on, towards the end of Wimbledon, that perhaps players didn't realise that and were more interested in, the individual rather than the actual team ethic.
Mm-hmm. Just while we're on fashion, is it true as well that you two had a bit of a bust up behind the training ground one day and he kicked you and you didn't flinch? It's open and it's well, if anybody wants to read that, it's well documented. I mean, bust ups happen all the time in football matches. I mean, it's obviously two big men. Not something I'm proud of. It's the only real scrap I had in my football career, but sometimes, you go so far and it has to, you have to stand up. But, my 10 years of Wimbledon, I loved my 10 years of Wimbledon. I mean, it's the majority of my career. For what we achieved and what we did and what I achieved, coming from my hometown team of Reading to play the last 10 years of my career at the top level, I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I'm only disappointed now that, to a certain extent, my history has evaporated, if you want. With the move to Milton Keynes and the giving back of the patrimony, as they call it, from Milton Keynes to Merton Council, the formation of AFC, which wasn't there when I played for it, and they're sort of, I often say the team I actually played for was one that was moved to Milton Keynes, but the fans of the team I played for are the ones that play, under the banner of AFC Wimbledon. So my history, if you want, has disappeared a little bit, which is a bit sad, especially as it's the 25th anniversary of that great win. But any other club, it'd be a massive, massive celebration, but, unfortunately, that club doesn't seem to exist anymore. I mean, my local side is Wrexham. Obviously, the last few years they've been playing AFC in the conference, and talking to some of their fans. History is not in really the record books anymore, if you like, but it's certainly with the fans. Certainly you guys gave them memories that they're never going to forget, and I'm sure they'll pass on to their kids, grandkids, etc. I suppose in that sense it'll live on, and that must give you some sense of pride to know how much you touch those guys.
It does, and I have great feelings for AFC fans. I say they're the fans that stood on the terraces of Wembley, but I can't ever say I played for AFC Wimbledon. AFC Wimbledon wasn't formed in 2001, I think it was, and I finished my playing career by then. So who did I play for in a cup final? The team that I played for was the one that was moved to Milton Keynes. Rightly or wrongly, that was the team I played for, but they no longer associate themselves. They've given up their history with regard to their time in Milton Keynes, and I'm a player like myself who's left in limbo. I mean, I go down and support AFC when I've been down there several times. So they're the last game of last season. But I never played for AFC, and that one is a hard one.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you about, obviously, because it follows on from Jack Wilshere's comments this week about if you're only Englishmen should play for England. Obviously, you were born in Lambeth and represented Northern Ireland on a couple of occasions. What's your take on that sort of situation? Should it, is he right in what he says?
Basically, he's right. I mean, but like all things, it's not black and white. I think, and we've had situations where, and we'll have situations where Qatar have nationalised African athletes to run for them in the Olympics. And there is talk that, come the World Cup time, there'll be a lot of non-Qataris playing under the Qatar shirt because they'll be nationalised and such like, purely to make, Qatar do better in the World Cup than they would do normally. And this has been extended. I mean, I was the manager of Northern Ireland, and you've got players that should play for Northern Ireland playing for the Republic. When the Republic extended their national extended to grandparents who were playing for them, you ended up with people like Cascarino playing for them. He later on, even in his book, claimed that he had no connection with the Republic at all. And it's got, I think there's a World Cup game where there was more French-born players in the Senegal team than there was in the French team, wasn't there? The first round of a World Cup game. So it's been so extended now to who can play for who. And I understand completely Jack Wilshere's argument. I think to say where you were born is perhaps very narrow. And this has got, people will bring this into, I'm sure some idiot out there would say this is, extending to racism, etc. It's got nothing to do with racism. The argument is, to represent your home country or represent England, there should be parameters. Now, it was brought up because a lad at United, who I understand is born to Bosnian parents, isn't he, but born in Belgium. And the FA are trying to see if they can play for England. Under what basis does he play for England? I don't understand that. So it has become too wide that people that, are taking up residency and taking up nationality to play international sport, perhaps because they can't play for their own country because they're not good enough, or, adopting grandparents as some sort of way of playing for a country that really they've got no attachment to. I mean, we had that situation with Zola Budd all those years ago, do you remember? Yeah. I mean, they dragged the cross for the Olympics, nationalised in a short space of time, and then, she got knocked out in the final. His point is, and I think it's related to the young kid at United, that you should have some affinity with the country you're playing for. And how far that affinity goes back is going to be an interesting subject. At the moment with FIFA, you can go back to your grandparents. Well, if you go back to your grandparents, you can, under quirk of things, be able to play for 9 different countries. Yeah. And we do need to tighten up big time the qualifications for national teams because it has got too wide. And I think it's a start. It's a start of the discussion. I think Jack Wilshere's thrown it into there, and it does need to be discussed. And certainly for Northern Ireland, we had a massive problem where players played all the way up for schoolboys, all the way up to the national team, and they opted to play for the Republic on purely religious grounds. And FIFA, I know Northern Ireland FA went to FIFA, and FIFA basically said it's up to you to sort out yourselves, and that's not the way it should be dealt with. It should be dealt with that there are strict limits. I think now with a society that you can be born anywhere in the world and people move more than they ever did. I think now it needs to be tightened down. And this is purely for national sport. I mean, it's no big, well, it's not, it is a big one to a certain extent, but someone was quoted, and I'm quoting someone else, who said that, the English team should be made of the best English doctor, the best English physio, the best English player, the best English coach, the best English masseur, the best English manager. That's what it should be. Otherwise, it's just Champions League football. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But how far those definitions of what qualifies you to play for a country, I think they're far, far, far too wide at this moment. And I think they need to be really reined in. And because as I say, I mean, you've got a French team made up of African players, aren't you, with African heritage, because of the historical claims to it. I think you should go back, and I said this when I was Northern Ireland manager, I think you should go back to a very fine definition so that there's no controversy where you were born or where your parents were born. For if you have a passport, your British passport, that's no problem, but it should be the definition of where you play your sport. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have national teams and run up the flag and do all that at the Olympics, it's a waste of time, running up a Qatari flag if the winner is Kenyan,
Yeah,
and that's the whole point of it. I mean, it certainly happened in athletics for monetary situations. We've seen it happen in this country for a number of reasons for players. Gregory Getty suddenly became English or British all of a sudden, didn't he? Because, the money was better here than probably it was in Canada being number one.
Of course, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it open to Chris. He's got questions relating to your managerial career. I know he's got some questions from our Twitter listeners and a couple of our forum members on the site as well. So over to you, Chris, mate.
Hi, Laurie. Hi. My first question is from Billy Blue. It's relating to, he said if you could pick any player in the world to represent Northern Ireland, who would you pick?
well, that's the thing. They go back to any player. Some countries do that. They pick, they have really loose connections with players that play, and that was the point. If I could, I mean, the best player in the world at this moment, for me, I think he's Ronaldo. I mean, I think he's an extraordinary player. You know, it's a toss-up who's the best player in the world between him and Messi. But I think Ronaldo gives you, for me, he's an all-round player. You know, pace, he can head a ball, he can tackle, he's 6'2", he's a good athlete, he can take great free kick. I just think, you know, and he can dribble, he's quick. I think for me, he's the complete footballer. I mean, I think he's a tremendous player.
Okay, and when you took over Northern Ireland, Joe, complete S when he was ranked 124th in the world. I think it was 14 games without a goal, 2.5 years without a win. So in your first training session, what's the main focus when you got the lads together?
Well, my first training session was a fiasco, if I'm being honest. I mean, we had a terrible training facility that was a joke. The equipment was rubbish. I mean, the actual session that was put on by me was rubbish, and I'm sure all the players looked and thought, "Here we go again," because the team wasn't in that position because it was very good. It was in that team because it had not been run as an international team should be run, and they hadn't performed as an international team. But I put on a PowerPoint of an evening, in the evening, the first evening I had them, and said, look, this is what we can do. We can carry on doing what we've been doing over the last X number of years, where you turn up, we lose, you go home, you get the mick taken out of you. You do 2 years, we finish bottom of the group, they sack the manager and they get another one in, and you go all over again. Or we can do this. And I laid out a plan about what I wanted to do, how I wanted to achieve it, where I wanted to be. And I did a league table right at the end, and the league table had Northern Ireland finishing second in our group on goal difference and qualifying for the playoffs. Yeah. With a set of results that I thought could be achievable. And I did it, finished with that slide and said, good night, think about it. Anyway, that night, the doctor always used to go around at night to make sure players had settled in with the physio, to make sure, there was, if they needed anything, and, the physio checked out everything was all right. So they used to go around as a pair in the evening just to tuck the players in if you want to make sure everything was all right with them. And then they used to come down and we used to have a drink in the bar and just have a chat about the day and about what happened. So the first time they did this, I always used to say to the physio, to the doctor, what did they say? What was said? What was the thing? I said, they've got to say, he said, the majority of them said, oh yeah, I never thought about playing for Northern Ireland like that before. But we can achieve something because we'd always not achieved anything since '84. And I've come into that culture. He said, that made us sit up and take notice. The following day we went out and trained, did a very similar session. The sessions got better and better and better, not just from me doing anything different, but from the players buying into what we were achieving. And by the time we got to England, after the England game, we thought we could beat anybody in the world, and did beat anybody in the world. Yeah. So it was really, it wasn't the first training session, it was more the first evening's chat. I had a chance to outline what I wanted to do with the team. And we lost some players along the way. Yeah. Some players didn't buy into it, as is always the case, and they were the ones that sat out and watched us beat England, watched us beat Spain, watched those highlights of players. And I spoke to my manager afterwards and I said, we had players coming back, to be fair, they used to take the mick out of Northern Ireland and their results, but they were walking in with their chest held high, their head held high and their chest pumped out, because they'd just beaten England, or they'd just beaten Spain, or they'd drawn with Portugal, or they'd beaten Denmark or Sweden. And, other internationals are coming back and saying, bloody hell, how did you do that? Because they realised in the internationals what great achievement that was for a country of our size. So, with success breeds success, and I think they've just gone through the same phase now, haven't they? They've gone back 13 games without a win, haven't they, up to they beat Russia.
They lost to Luxembourg.
And then they go and lose to Luxembourg, which is a trait of Northern Irish football, that they can raise their game for those big games, but unfortunately can't close off the games they should do.
Okay, answer. So what were you more proud of, beating England and Spain, or jumping nearly 100 places on the world ranking?
It's hard to say, it's one of those questions, My highlight of Northern Ireland, I think, was beating Spain. I think
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. For the reason we were written off by everybody in the country, because we lost the previous game against Iceland 3-0 on the Saturday. First qualifying game of the qualifying campaign, and we're pretty much being written off. For the fact that we came back from being down twice to beat them 3-2, but for the fact that we're one of the last teams. I mean, I think we've only been beaten about 4 or 5 times in major championships since that date in 2006, haven't they? Then went on an unbelievable run. I think Sweden beat them in the next game after us, and after that they went on a run where they never lost. So they never lost to the Confederations Cup final 4 years later. They then go on and win another tournament, and they might have lost a friendly affair, but actually international games, I think they've lost from that day to this. I think they've only lost about 3 or 4 games. So that for me, and David Healy scoring a hat-trick as well, unbelievable achievement. A collection of a hat-trick as well that is, phenomenal if you ever see the goals. Great goals, all of them.
Yeah.
So that shoving up everybody in that night, for me, that was the highlight. And obviously the byproduct to that, jumping 97 places in the world rankings. I mean, I'd like to have got 100, but 97 wasn't bad. I don't think we ever really, as a small nation, got the credit we deserve for that.
Well, as just mentioned, Healy, we got a question in from Crimey. He says, why do you think you couldn't get the best out of Healy at club level compared to international level?
Well, I don't agree with that to a certain extent. David scored the opening day of the season against Arsenal. He scored midweek in a Carling Cup game, I think against Bolton. And the following Saturday at home, he had a goal that was a yard over the line disallowed against Middlesbrough. Frighteningly bad decision in the last minute of the game. And so in the first week of the season, if that goal had been given against Middlesbrough, he'd had 3 goals in a week. And everybody would have said, what a great achievement. But that goal was knocked off. In the following game, he was playing Big Brian McBride, and David always needed to play for big front man. I mean, that was David. At Northern Ireland, I had James Quinn, and then I had a Lappin to play along with the side him. He thrived off someone who was able to flick things on, get him in the box. And in the last game before the deadline, Brian McBride, who he was playing up front with and had played with at Preston many years ago, dislocated his kneecap. And therefore, thereafter, he's literally, I think it was a couple of days before the transfer deadline, we weren't able to replace him with anybody like Brian McBride. David's not a player that can play up front by himself. We had to change the team round, and that probably affected him more than any other player, the fact that we didn't have a McBride in the team. Someone that could do those things and get in and around the box. In and around the box, he was the good finisher that I've seen, I've got to say. I mean, his finishing on the training field put people to shame, put goalkeepers hated it. I remember one training session before we were playing England, and we stayed in Manchester, and we'd finished training and we just sat down and we were talking as players do, and David had got the balls and gone out and got Mike Taylor in goal and was just shooting at him, dead ball shooting. And he was beating in top corners, bending balls around him, all sorts. In the end, I said to my assistant Terry Gibson, Terry, go over and get him, because he's destroying Mike. Mike was the first keeper at the time. But we were just sat there, all the players sat on the lawn watching these, and David was scoring every single one, from 15, 20 yards away from the keeper. An international keeper like Mike is no fool. And literally said, stop him, because he's destroying the goal. He's going to come out tomorrow, confidence. So, that was the reason. Once Brian McBride dislocated his kneecap, we never really found a partner for David to play with, and but if that goal against Middlesbrough had gone in and stayed in, he'd have had 3 goals in the first week of the season. And the minute I left, I don't think he played thereafter, did he? I think the new manager came in, Roy came in and didn't fancy him, and a lot of managers during his career didn't fancy him, but you can't take it away from him. He scored 13 goals in that qualifying campaign in 2006. And he scored more goals than Torres, Raul, turns were Raul Ibrahimovic, and there was one other player as well in that group who played for Spain, whose name escapes me. He scored more goals than those 4 players put together.
David
in that group.
Villa? No?
David Villa. He scored more goals than those 3, plus Ibrahimovic put together. And they played for countries where they got loads of chances. So, it just shows what an achievement it was.
Okay. And I've got 2 more questions. Is that okay?
Yeah. It's fine.
Brian Shirley asks, have you got any plans to return to management?
I'm a manager. I mean, that's my job. That's what it says on my passport. It's about finding the right job, being offered the right job, at the right place. I mean, I've managed at the top at Northern Ireland and Fulham, and it's hard there, but I've managed at the bottom, with Barnet, and it's even harder there. So I'd like to give myself a chance next time I take a job. But that's out of my hands. I've got to be offered one, so I'm saying there have been loads of people queuing up to offer me jobs, but I'd like to think I have a track record of some sort. It's now someone saying, you've proven you can do it again.
Great. And our last question is from your old manager, Bobby Gould. He wants to know where the FA Cup ball was.
Yeah, Bobby, bless him. I mean, it's an old story, and I've told it many times, but having scored the goal, Bobby Gould is a centre forward, and our manager at the day gave the ball to the goalkeeper. I said to Bobby afterwards, in those days, there was only one ball played at Wembley. We didn't have multi-ball systems then. You had the one ball that went into the crowd, he was kicked back out. It was the one ball. If it punctured, you had a spare ball on the touchline. So it was the ball that went in the goal. And Bobby Gould, as centre forwards too, decided to give it to the goalkeeper to save the penalty rather than put the ball in the back of the net and win the cup. So my good mate, Dave Besson, has it in his trophy cabinet. Sat there every time I go around, and I said to Bobby, well, if you'd been the goal scorer, how did you feel about that? He said, oh yeah, I suppose I could see your point. So it's a bone of contention, but it's a joke at the same time.
The 88 Cup final was probably my first football memory. I remember words coming out of my dad.
How old were you? 8 or 9?
6 or 7. Yeah.
6 or 7. They're saying you can age yourself by your memory of your first cup final. So 6 or 7, you must be quite ahead of yourself, because usually say it's about 8 or 9. 8 or 9 is usually the first cup final you can remember in true time.
I've probably more memories than my dad. It's my dad swearing when Dave Besant saved the penalty. And then
Liverpool family.
Yeah.
It was
probably more his memories than that memory than the actual football.
It was memorable for a lot of reasons. I mean, we were 4-1 against, weren't we? Liverpool 4-1 on, and we deserved to win that cup final. And as I say, people say it's Goliath, what's known as Goliath, but we finished 7th. I think, in fact, that year, I think we finished 8th in the league, and we were the last team to beat Liverpool at Anfield. So we were no mugs. And later on, most of that team went on to be internationals, and most of that team went on to move for record transfer fees for their position. So we weren't a bad team.
That's better. So I'll hand you back over to Paul if he's got any more questions.
No, it's quite painful thinking about the cup final as a Liverpool fan. It's something I've watched back with members of my family and things, and I'd just like to get to a cup final these days.
Yeah, it's funny because by the time we got the cup and done the photographs and ready to do our lap of honour, the stadium was empty, wasn't it? Because the stadium is made up of about, I think it was the last cup final that was shown on both ITV and BBC Live, and it was the last all-standing cup final at Wembley, because they made it all seated the following year. So there was 98,000 in there that day, and we had about 8,000 fans. So when we come to do our lap of honour, 90,000 fans had evacuated the stadium, so they weren't standing behind in us. So it was quite a strange memories.
Just one more question from me, Lawrie. Obviously, after the FA Cup win, you couldn't go into the Cup Winners' Cup the following year due to the Heysel incident. I mean, was that something that you knew was going to happen, or something you just accepted? Because the FA did appeal for readmission, I believe.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was the second or third year into the English Club's ban, wasn't it? I'm trying to think what year high school was it 86, was it?
85, I think, yeah.
85, so it was 3 years into the ban. So we knew the story before we played the cup final. We'd have qualified in 86 for the UEFA Cup as well, probably because we finished 6th. I'm not sure about 7th the following year, but we certainly would have qualified for the Cup Winners' Cup as it was then in 88. But no, I mean, I do remember that that year or the year after, or the year before, I can't remember, one of those years, we played Gothenburg, and they were playing, I think they were playing Rangers in the semi-final of one of the European competitions. I can't remember which one it was that year. And they were having, it was their midwinter break when they were playing, so that they wanted a warm-up game before they played Rangers, so they came across and played us at Plough Lane. From about 1,500 people. It was a cold night in, I'm trying to think when that would have been, January, somewhere like that. Whatever the semi-final dates are or the quarter-final dates are. Yeah. We played them midweek on a Wednesday at Plough Lane for about 1,600 people, something like that. It was friendly. All their players came out in tights and gloves and all the stuff on, but almost had balaclavas on. It was so cold. We played and we beat them 5-1 or something like that. Something ridiculous. We totally outplayed them. We went away the following week to do our badge at Lilleshall because we did our prelim badge as a club at Lilleshall. And Wally Downs then said, look, should we put all the players pull money on blaming Rangers because they're useless because we beat them 5-1. And I tried to get all the players pull money that year onto bet on Rangers because they would say, because we'd beaten this Gothenburg team. As it happens, they beat Gothenburg and they couldn't get the money on. They wouldn't be taking whatever reason, couldn't get the money on. Gothenburg beat Rangers and went on to the final of the Europe, whatever trophy that was that year. Yeah. We beat them 5-1, so we've done all right in Europe.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Lawrie. Hopefully you'll come on again in the future and we'll be able to discuss a bit more about your managerial career, but it's been a pleasure to talk to you tonight.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. It was good.
Thank you, Lawrie.
Thanks very much, Lawrie.
Cheers, good night.